Welcome to the Film Steins, a double feature podcast. Join us as we unravel the interwoven experience of the continuous conversation of cinema. Take part in pairing movies with their cursed counterparts, movies that share DNA, or even pairing questionable duos by joining our Patreon at patreon.com/filmsteins. We offer tiers at the $1, $5, and $20 level. Where the $5 tier, we grant the ability to request films to further the discussion. So grab some popcorn, sit back, and get ready to join the 100-year conversation. This is the Film Steins, where movies are more than just entertainment, they're an experience.
They're an experience.
All around you. And welcome back to another episode of the Film Steins. Thank you guys for joining us today. Today I am joined by my bonsai trimming friend, Lucy.
Bonsai.
Remember, we post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with brand new episodes. Some great episodes for you to go listen to include Next Goal Wins, our Patreon exclusive episode of Amazon's new series Fallout, our Godzilla Cross Kong episode, our Godzilla -1 episode, and since you're there, go listen to our episode on the original Godzilla, the best Godzilla. I'm just kidding. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas, though, on our Patreon. Go rate us on Apple Podcasts. Come subscribe for $1, $5, $1,000. Come request a movie, more importantly.
Are you stressed and filled with anxiety like I am? Maybe in a bit of pain from that car accident you had a few years ago? Well, the sponsor of today's episode, Hempville CBD, has us covered. They have the highest quality products created by chemists and doctors. Hempville carries everything from CBD to THC dispensary grade without those despicable dispensary prices. Order your Delta 8, 9 edibles and vapes along with the THCA flower and get free shipping when you spend $50 or more at hempvillecbd.com. Check out the link in the description for more details.
But today we are discussing John Avildsen's 1984 film, The Karate Kid. That's not the one with Jaden Smith. I don't think he was alive yet, actually. This is my first time seeing this film. I'm normally repulsed by 80s movies, as in they repel me, not that they're disgusting.
Oh, not repulsive, but like repellent. Gotcha.
Yeah, like magnets.
Gotcha.
And I'll be the first to admit, it's fine. It's good. It's good. It's better than fine.
All right.
As far as Ralph Macchio films go, way better than The Outsiders.
Yeah, but we know what the problem was with The Outsiders. Go listen to our Outsiders episode, by the way. But it wasn't a acting problem.
That's true. It's a Francis problem.
It's a Francis problem, yes.
I know Mr. Miyagi's a legendary character in film, especially nerd culture-oriented films. I didn't know what was up with the wax on, wax off stuff.
So sad.
Now I get it.
Now you get it.
It was fun.
Yes.
I liked the opposition that Daniel expressed. Like, why the hell am I doing any of this? You're just making me do your dirty work. I know you're a big fan of the original Karate Kid. How do you feel about it after all these years with your newly developed Shinigami eyes?
Honestly, I think I like it way more seeing it again with my developed eyes. I mean, this movie's a cult classic, and it's a great coming-of-age story. Although, I think on Wiki, it said, like, karate film or karate drama film. I don't know, something like that, which was weird to call it that, but it's more on of a coming-of-age story. I think it had very traditional themes, great performances, especially from the Cobra Kais, great costume, great pacing, a great soundtrack and score, great dialogue. I mean, this movie's awesome. The only thing that I might fault it for just a little bit is maybe the story not being super cohesive, or just having some moments where it's like, I don't know about that. Just, here or there. But not bad. Not a bad story. Just maybe like it just falters. Like, why are we doing that? Oh, okay, we're good. But everything else is just awesome. I'm really glad that you liked it more than fine. I was hoping you would like it. Pretty good, right? Is that what you gave it? A pretty good?
It's pretty good. Simple story. Yeah, there's a lot of conveniences. Very much made for kids, like preteens.
I think everyone could learn from this movie.
Sure, everyone. There's no doubt you can't overstate the importance of working hard, standing up for yourself, and maybe a tinge of resorting to violence as your last action.
Okay, yeah.
That's sort of expressed by Mr. Miyagi, which no one can blame him to preface his techniques with, right? His teachings. But obviously the goal is to enter this tournament and beat the Cobra Kais at their own game. On some level, I guess it's mostly to stand up and to, at the very least, try to humiliate the bullies.
Yeah. I do love that there's a lot of lessons intertwined with this movie. A lot of themes intertwining and just being developed throughout the movie. I do love the idea of this, not only friendship, but this mentorship that happens in the movie. That's kind of a lost art nowadays, with having someone to learn from, but not only learn from them in their specific field, like an apprenticeship, but more along the lines of having someone to admire and to look up to and to teach you all these life lessons that so beautifully develops here. And for Mr. Miyagi, he learns lots of things that I think we can learn from today. Like you said, hard work, but also decisiveness and back to the foundations. He didn't teach him a lot about fancy moves and next level shit. He taught him to go back to the foundations, and when you have the balance and the techniques down, you'll be pretty much good. You don't need all these other fancy shit to win or to be okay. That's how the wax on, wax off comes into place. That's how him doing all his house chores comes in. And I love that. I love that he has to teach Daniel this, and the way he does it is so fun. Like such an Asian dad, Asian grandparent thing to do, to be so wise like that. It's hilarious. And I also really like that Johnny, at the end of the film, has this sort of growth and redemption. He's not like a typical bad guy that never learns from his mistakes. He has a moment where he's like, whoa, wait a minute, I don't think I like what I'm doing here. Like, Coach, are you sure this is what I need to be doing? Like, especially because he's so mean and so evil throughout the entire movie. We don't see him falter once. He's kind of like Malfoy. Like, Malfoy is a dick, and he's always a dick. And he has this moment towards the end of Harry Potter where you kind of start to feel for him on why he has to be a dick, because his dad is over here with Voldemort and the family will be killed if he's not. So you start to sympathize with Malfoy a little bit. And there's something not quite as similar here, but almost, with two kids being super evil and super dicks, but humanizing them. Where it could have just been a movie about the hero always wins.
Yeah, man, that's well said. And you don't really see those cracks form until the end, at least in retrospect. Because I feel like one of those first big moments of there's something a little more going on here is when Miyagi and Daniel go to the karate place with the students of karate and the militant type teacher.
Yeah, the dojo.
The dojo, of
the
course.
The Cobra Kai dojo.
Yeah, I should know that. Play Yakuza. But he's got them in a row, very militant-like. They're shouting like they're Nazis or something. They're all blonde. And he's like a boot camp commander dude. He's yelling at him and he's being very orderly about it. I feel like that's one of the first big indications of these boys, the Cobra Kai boys, almost fitting a role. And some adopting maybe the personality of their karate mentor, and some not. And there's some kind of fun contrast between the two teachers, in that it almost feels like a a West American military thing versus an Asian, more individualistic kind of individual enlightenment thing, and not really necessarily indicating one as superior in any form, because as we see, at least between the boys, Daniel's not really great. He gets hit, he gets a little lucky, but he is kind of trained in such a way that, kind of like what you were saying, he can almost see past the style, right? He's trained on a foundational level of how to deflect what's coming at him. And so he's able to see the holes in this showboaty, really aggressive kind of techniques that the other mentor, the white dude mentor, is teaching him.
Yeah. One is fighting to win at all costs, and the other one's just fighting to survive.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking something similar in that the Cobra Kais are fighting to have like dominance, to be the controlling kind of superpower. And the other, Daniel, is fighting, I guess, really from a point of humility, in that you indicating to the others that you can't push people around like this.
Mm-hmm.
And it is expertly told, like you were saying, when we get that just lightning crack through Johnny, is that his name?
Yes.
At the end, where he's not comfortable doing this. We're taking it too far.
But he does it. And then it's almost like he has this self-awareness afterwards that he's like, oh man, oh shit, okay, you won. You deserve it. I'm so sorry. Like, here's your trophy, like whatever. Where his mentor is probably outside, like waiting for Mr. Miyagi to come out so he can beat him up or something. You know, like he didn't learn anything from this like Johnny did. I guess I watched this movie as a kid, and watching it as a kid, I really loved kind of learning a bit about other cultures, because that's really how you could learn about other cultures, through movies. And that one random person that came to your school from this other country, you know, down here in the South, we don't have a lot of that. But this was the movie that taught me what a bonsai was. And bonsais are cool. I also loved kind of the symbolism behind the bonsai here. And I don't know, for whatever reason, symbolism is hard for me to catch in movies, especially a good movie, because I'm so into the movie that I don't have time to, you know, interpret in my head what this could mean. But I loved it here, you know, after watching it I don't know how many times. And just how Daniel represents a bonsai that Mr. Miyagi is transforming, he's strengthening, he's molding this person as he's doing to his bonsais. And just how resilient something so small could be, which is Daniel. He's so small, he's puny here, you know, he's not like big and buff like these Cobra Kai guys, but no matter what, no matter your size, no matter what, you can still be something as cool as a bonsai. And I liked it. I really liked it. I never really got it.
That's well said, man. And really, in addition to that too, he's not only a bonsai, but he's also teaching him how to care for the bonsai. Be patient, small strokes.
To visualize it in your mind, and then think about things before you do them.
Is this where the stereotype of wise old Asian men messing with bonsais comes from?
I don't know. It might be.
And why does everyone think a bonsai is a specific tree? Is it this movie? Because I was keeping an eye out for that. Like, are all of his bonsais different trees, or are they all the same tree? And there were a few different little shrubs there I saw.
I might be exposing my ignorance here, but they all look the same to me.
Maybe that's the problem.
I don't know trees, especially small trees. No, I don't know. I don't even know the differences in grass.
I will admit the grasses are more difficult.
They're complicated.
But he had some junipers. He had some golden ficuses. So, I don't know. I thought that was funny. I was laughing at that.
That's funny. I mean, that is a common misconception, I guess, that bonsais are a specific tree. And it's not until you let people know that, no, it's just a specific type of tree, just small. Like, what?
It's like a specific treatment of a tree, a specific way of nurturing. Does it stunt their growth? Is it abusive, torturous? Yeah, sort of.
Is cutting grass abusive?
Sort of.
Torturous?
But is taking your Serena and Venus out to the tennis court and making them play a lot and making them become the best of the best of the best, sir, is that abusive? I don't know. Look at them now. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, are they abused in their mansions? You know?
Symbolism is hard to pull out in a movie sometimes because everyone lives different lives to varying degrees, right? We all have these converging points in these shared cultures and ideas about X, Y, and Z.
What made this one really stick out, like to the point that it was in my face, was when Daniel was driving away and they were screaming bonsai like at each other, you know?
Oh, I didn't.
That's when I was
That's
like,
funny.
why are they screaming that at each other? Like, why?
It's really kind of a great study of a very specific way of injecting an idea in a movie because the rest of it is very simple. It's a very simple premise, very simple movie, very simple structure, very linear, very simple characters and conversations. And then the bonsai thing and the working hard thing and just the molding of Daniel is really front and centered. So it's actually a good maybe case study of, I don't know, film analysis 101. I don't know, some shit like that. You know, understanding symbolism. It, I guess, transcends movies, but
Yeah.
what did the penis in the attic in Beau's Afraid symbolize?
No clue. I didn't even want to think about that. His dad? A man?
A manly man.
A manly man?
He's all dick.
That's like taking it too far with the symbolism. It's like, whoa, okay. Don't know here. That's funny. Like I said, this movie has some great dialogue. It has some great one-liners by Mr. Miyagi. He's such a wise old man. I absolutely love him. And I think my favorite quote from him is when he gives Daniel this advice. And he says, walk on road. Walk on left side. Safe. Walk on right side. Safe. Walk in the middle. Sooner or later, get squished just like grape. And I'm like, what the fuck did he just say? And then he continues to tell him, same thing with karate. Either you karate do yes or karate do no. You karate do guess so, just like grape, understand? And I think for the first time ever watching this movie, I understood. And this is where that decisiveness comes in. You need to decide, because if you don't decide, you're gonna get squished like the grape. And that, after understanding that probably became one of my favorite quotes. You need to fully commit to whatever you're doing. Don't hesitate and be decisive. But I did like the one where he's like, license never replaces eye, ear, and brain. Like, what? Dad, excuse me, what did you just say? It was funny. I imagine this is one of the most quotable movies out there, with the wax on, wax off references, at least. I mean, it's super influential, and it's influential enough that they made a remake, and then they had that Cobra Kai show, bringing it back after all these years. And, like, how many TV episodes mention the Karate Kid in some sort of way? A lot.
It's almost the canonical movie for, like, overcoming that challenge of not being walked on, you know?
Yeah.
There's also a movie coming out next year.
Oh, a remake?
I think it's a continuation post Cobra Kai show.
Okay.
So I don't know though, but Jackie Chan's in it.
All right. I love Jackie Chan. I also feel like since this movie's from the 80s, you know, I can't really relate to that time, of course. And it's not in the nostalgia feels for me, like I imagine it is for some people. But I do love all the little small things in this movie that are from that time. Like Mr. Miyagi being a war hero, but losing his family at that time. And then maybe, having a single parent or being bullied. I imagine bullying was insane back in the 80s. I mean, you have shows like Stranger Things and other movies like The Outsiders, other movies from the 80s that when they show bullying, like it's brutal almost. Like I can't even imagine. So I don't know. I can't relate to it, but I can just imagine how relatable this movie must have felt to the teens of that time and helping it become as influential as it is. I can appreciate it, but I imagine it's on another level. And I can't think of a movie on the spot that is influential of our time. I could maybe think of some shows, but I don't know about a movie that just has those life things that we experienced. Not like Shrek, that's influential of our time, but different reasons, I guess. I don't know. I haven't watched Shrek with my new Shinigami eyes, so maybe it is, and I have no idea. And I also don't know a lot about the film industry, but I can only imagine how many movies came out in the 80s versus how many movies came out around the time I was growing up versus how many movies come out today to these kids that are growing up.
Yeah, I guess at one point, same thing with like video games too, I feel like is a really big victim of this. You could see everything at the theater at one point. You could see all the new movies. You could play all the new games. But now we have new movies and games coming out every single day, it seems like.
Yeah. So I wonder if that also adds to some of that awness of a movie like this.
There aren't a lot of movies quoted and referenced like Karate Kid. Because I'm trying to think things like Alien and, Predator and Ghostbusters, Back to the Future. I feel like a lot of these very iconic films to the 80s are not so permanent as to what they mean to at least messaging in films. As far as aesthetic and genre, maybe a little bit of a different story.
Mm-hmm.
But it does feel like Karate Kid is at least literally referenced more than most movies for sure. And speaking of dead people in people's lives, my favorite part of the movie was Miyagi's drunken phase, drunken moment.
Yes.
I was like, damn, this is kind of sad.
Yes. It's like, what happened to that fun movie I was watching about a hero overcoming, blah, blah, blah. Like, now I'm just in my feels for Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah, and you have this moment of like, man, Daniel's sort of this son to him all of a sudden. And Mr. Miyagi's all of a sudden this dad-like figure to Daniel. And then he even gives him a car. It's like, oh, that's funny.
I know. It's so sweet and so heartfelt. And I know there's a lot of, heartwarming movies out there, but it really is. And it's such like a polite movie. It's not that in your face kind of heartwarming. It's not manipulative, and it's so good. One of the other iconic things about this movie is the song, You're the Best. And I love it when there's a song that was maybe not for a specific movie, but now it becomes that song for that movie. The little bit of reading I was doing was saying that this song was going to be for the Rocky films. I don't know which one. I don't know if the first one. I don't know the order. But one of the Rocky films. But instead, they got the Eye of the Tiger for that and gave this song to the Karate Kid, which is awesome. But now that is the song of the Karate Kid. Just like Life is a Highway is Cars' song, and All Star is now Shrek's song.
Yeah, and Eye of the Tiger is Rocky.
And Eye of the Tiger is Rocky. I absolutely love that. And the score is also great here. Yes, the score is, good for setting the stage. It plays its music when it needs to, during sad times, during happy times, whatever. But I also like that it gives the characters their own theme almost. Especially Mr. Miyagi. Those like little flute sounding sounds. I don't know. I'm also not a music person. But I like that. I like when a movie does that. It reminds me of that weird sound that plays in the Spider-Man movie when the uncle bad guy is around. And you're like, what the fuck is that noise? Like something similar to that. I love when movies do that too. They're like giving those characters a theme. I mean, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, the Prowler.
The Prowler, yes.
Mm-hmm. And we saw a little bit of that with like that Challengers movie where they had this like inner orchestra going on.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. Yeah, I like that too. It brings out some like, I don't know, like interpreted kind of personality instead of just they say and do these things and okay, this may imply this. Instead, they give you a little bit of a tune and feel and vibe to initiate something else.
Yeah, I like that. I like a vibe. That's what it felt like. My favorite part is the end when Mr. Miyagi heals Daniel by harnessing his ki. And I love the whole sequence of that. It's like so dramatic. Not only is the score dramatic, but Mr. Miyagi's performance itself is dramatic. And then the Foley is so extra with the hand clap and the rubbing them together. And just, Daniel had just begged him to please heal him. And he's like, no, you're going to get hurt. Yeah, exactly. And he does it and, he wins and it's so good. It's probably my top favorite parts. Just the extraness of it. And Mr. Miyagi's not an extra man. He's a very simple man. He's not a dramatic man. He's, down to earth.
But he is a magical man.
Yes. And I loved it. It's so good. And I don't even know what else I can say about it. He's a badass and he's a badass mentor. So I mentioned super early on in the episode that one of the things I just wasn't all here for was the story and how it just had some sections that were just kind of off. One of them is the introduction. The introduction felt weird to me. Good or bad, I don't know, but it felt off. It was a little bit rushed, almost. Like we were doing things way too fast to get Daniel to getting beat up. They're moving across country, apparently. We don't find that out until he's like, oh, we're from Newark or whatever. And then we don't really know where he's at until we later find out he's in California. And then you're like, what the heck? They showed us them traveling all across country in like 2 seconds. Okay. All right. Not too mad at it, but a little weird. And then you have that scene where their car's breaking down. He has to push it. That was kind of cute, but it again added to that kind of weirdness. Maybe now it transitioned into some kind of mysteriousness, which is okay. But then what got me was that he immediately got invited to a party, went to the party, and then the next day was like school. And it felt like a lot. And the other thing that bothered me a little bit was the romantic subplot. I know this is a teen movie. Daniel is in high school. We have to have a little bit of flirting and romance, right? Okay, I get it. And I know it's a little bit of the MacMuffin to get Johnny to hate him. We gotta give him Johnny's girl to get them to hate each other. But that's not exactly what gets him to hate Johnny. It's the fact that he stood up for himself that Johnny doesn't like, whether she's there or not. But it just felt weird. I don't know if it was their chemistry, but there were some scenes that were just a little bit maybe not fully committed. I don't know. Especially some of the scenes where he's avoiding her. And I want to say he was avoiding her after she had kissed Johnny, or I guess Johnny kissed her. And I wasn't sure why. Like, why are you guys not talking? You're embarrassed, or you now hate her, or what? I don't know. It just felt a little bit weird. These parts weren't my favorite part of the movie. Again, they weren't that bad. They weren't like in some other romance movies where it's like, no, please, why did you have to make these characters like each other? It wasn't like that. But of course, the parts with Mr. Miyagi were just so good, and their chemistry was so good that why did we give Daniel Allie?
Yeah, I hear you. They were kind of opposing each other a little bit because when Allie wasn't in the picture, it really was just about Johnny not liking the fact that he has this rival, really, this person that's saying no to him. And it's almost like Daniel kind of got the wrong idea and thought it was because of Allie or something. But the movie sort of lets us think that as well, that it is because of Allie, because there's this focus on Allie through Daniel. But then, towards maybe the end of the second act or beginning of the first act, Johnny knows, and the movie then starts to realize that Allie is really actually this sacrificial pawn. And Johnny knows that. Does the rest of the movie know that? I don't know. Daniel doesn't know that. Because he uses Allie to get at Daniel. He kisses her on purpose, try to piss everybody off. Throw a wrench in it and stuff because he's much smarter in this movie than anyone else. But it is a weird kind of conflict that's not actually there in the movie, but is led on to make us think that. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean, I feel you. I feel you.
Yes. Because you also have that scene at the Halloween party where he's in the shower curtain, which is awesome, by the way. Like, if you didn't love Mr. Miyagi, you love him then for giving the most badass costume to Daniel. But besides the point, at that party, Daniel goes and turns the water on and gets Johnny and all their drugs wet. Nothing to do with Allie. But he has now retaliated. Mm-hmm. And then that makes Johnny hate him even more, of course.
It's almost like we were missing a scene where we needed Daniel to say, oh, it has nothing to do with Allie. It's because, I'm kind of
I stuck it to the man.
Sure. Kind of like Daniel isn't a submissive person, so that's a problem with Johnny.
Yes. We were missing that. And I don't think it's super obvious. I think you have to really be thinking about the movie to come to that conclusion.
Because the movie feels like it wants you to think that Allie is the problem. Or at the center of the problem.
Right. If it weren't for Allie, this wouldn't have happened. But the way Daniel is and his personality, he would have found some way to piss off Johnny.
He did. He's kind of a high conflict person, so...
Yeah. Yeah, without Allie involved, I guess.
Yeah.
But they're so small, and it's not really relevant to the Miyagi-Daniel story and the fighting for himself, the transformation, yada yada, all these things. Like, it's not super relevant to the overall story, that it doesn't make me too mad, but it's like,
One other thing that was kind of weird, I thought, was when he was fighting in the tournament, he kept looking at Miyagi and maybe someone else, maybe Allie or something, for like validation or something. His eyes were constantly going off the mat.
Yeah.
And I felt like he was not really paying attention.
He was just nervous. That's how I took it. Because he was also like playing with his fingers and like biting his nails and stuff. So maybe he overdid it on the nervousness. Because I also noticed that. And I guess, it was small enough that it was like, all right, whatever. He's just nervous. But it was weird. Because
it started to make me think that there's like this muscle memory happening, that it's Daniel's not taking away anything. He's not learning anything. He's just an autopilot taking out these guys.
That's funny. But how was the fighting?
The fighting was okay.
Okay.
For, teenage karate and stuff. Some of the hits look pretty good. It looks way better than The Outsiders. That's for sure.
Yes, it is. It is. It looks... Everything about it is better than The Outsiders. Was it like Dune fighting though with Jason Momoa?
It was probably on the same level as Dune 1. Really is not good for Dune 1, Dune Part 1.
Because the fighting choreography was done by Patrick Johnson. And apparently he's like this black belt, and he did other things. And he began training under Chuck Norris, and is probably responsible from some of the other fighting movies. I don't know. And he's also in the movie. He was the head ref, which is cool. But a really good person can train you all day, and at the end of the day, you're still the one that has to do the thing.
I will say, too, that some fighting styles just look lame.
Maybe that's your problem with the fighting scenes.
Maybe sometimes, but I mean, things like The Outsiders and Dune Part 1 are just not good. But it's maybe a little bit like, some people are good at dancing, and some people might know the moves, but they just look stiff and awkward, and it's just like, man, what are you doing?
Right.
You might hit the beats and everything, but you have no rhythm or flow, maybe. I'm not sure what that is, but there may be something about that. Because I've seen Chuck Norris fight, and he's lame.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he was like this iconic fighter.
He is. But I'd much rather watch an old-ass Jackie Chan. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's kind of like the difference between boxing and UFC, maybe. UFC's much more entertaining. Boxing's kind of lame.
Yeah, you're just waiting for that final hit.
Yeah.
That knocks him out. All right. Okay.
But they can both be, really dangerous and exciting maybe in their own ways, but
someone just moves better than the other.
Yeah.
And it is a movie from the 80s. It's like comparing Dirty Dancing to a dancing film of today. Like, the dance moves are going to look different. People are going to move different. Different things were popular. So yeah, there's a lot going on. And the last thing I want to say here before we wrap up is that I loved the Cobra Kai's costumes. Everything from what they were wearing non-uniform was still pretty cool. Like, they had their like leather jackets, and they all kind of matched. They all kind of coordinated. Their headbands kind of all coordinated. Like, it was cool. I like that.
That helps kind of tie in the militant thing that we have going with the Cobra Kais.
Mm-hmm.
That was the main thing that stuck out to me in this movie, was the kind of West versus East sense of order of a group versus an individual.
That's the thing that stuck out to you most about this movie?
Yeah.
All right. Sounds good, I guess.
All right, man. Well, thank you for showing me this movie and talking about it here today.
You're welcome. Thank you for watching it. I've been waiting for you to watch this.
It was worth it. Do you have a budget guess for me?
So this movie looks like 25 million if it were made today. So 25 million back in 84 is apparently about 8 million. So that's my guess.
It says here that the budget was 8 million.
No. You're lying to me.
Yeah, dead ass.
No. What?
And it went on to make 130.8 million. Made an ass ton of money.
130? Holy poops. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the legendary times 10.
I'm telling you, this is a very loved movie. But I guess that's just the box office. But still. I'm sorry. How is The Outsiders gonna have a 10 million budget and this movie had 2 million less and is a lot better?
I mean, it's better visually too, I would say.
And they're a year apart, right? I think one's 83 and this one's 84.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, you'll be happy to know over on Letterboxd with 557,000 people, they weighed in at a 3.7. Very comfortable.
Okay. I'm surprised it's not a little higher.
Well, it runs into that, like, how much is the nostalgia and the time and place of it going to outweigh the quality of movie? Because it's a solid movie, but it's, at the end of the day, nothing special beyond its, highly referential nature and maybe character defining moments of defining stereotypes or a stereotypical coming of age or overcoming an obstacle that can be beaten in a Naruto fashion.
Okay. I don't know. I have to think about that. I'm giving it a 4, maybe 4.5. I'm still
Damn.
debating. I absolutely love this movie. I'm such a sucker for like traditional, maybe even like conservative values of being a good person and being, I don't know, maybe polite and just having all that self-awareness around others and yourself that this movie teaches you, along with that mentorship mindset that is so lost.
You might be onto something there. The most important part of this movie, the most important thing to take away, is to respect those who even oppose you, which now is all of a sudden ironic to be so influential and referenced today, because that is completely lost today. No one respects each other's opinions if they disagree.
Yes. You have to apologize for disagreeing with what society is saying. So many videos now, so many podcast episodes, so many people start out their sentences with, I'm sorry for having the contrary opinion here, but, and then they proceed to give their opinion. You don't need to apologize for your opinion. Maybe if you're about to say something super fucking mean, okay, I could see that. But no, people are like, I'm sorry that I think there's 2 genders out there. Like, what? You don't have to apologize for that. You don't have to proceed. You don't have to start out with, I'm sorry, and then say something ridiculous like that. So it's, I don't know, maybe I'm a weird child and a weird person now, and this movie just has so much in it that I am giving it a 4.5.
This is a solid 2.5 for me.
Damn.
It reminds me of Mice and Men, the Gary Sinise adaptation.
Oh, I think this is a lot better than Of Mice and Men, even though I love Of Mice and Men. But that's good. I'm glad you didn't give it like a 0.5
Yeah, it's not a bad movie.
because of your 80s repulsion.
Oh, that's just in my nature, you know?
Are we covering the Gremlins? I can't wait to hear your score on the Gremlins. That's an 80s movie, right?
Oh, I'm not sure actually where the Gremlins come out. Yeah, but I do like the Gremlins. I mean, there's a handful of 80 movies I like. I like the first Predator. I like Back to the Future 1. I like some of the horror that came out of that time. I'm sure there's tons of movies, but there's just a certain je ne sais quoi that comes out of the 80s that makes them all so forgettable. But yeah, man, thanks again for making me watch this movie, and thank you guys for listening to this episode of the Filmistines. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Remember, we post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on patreon.com/Filmistines, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora. Who even uses Pandora anymore?
My mom, my dad.
There you go. YouTube. Remember to leave nice comments, thoughts, and ideas on our Patreon as well. Go rate us on Apple Podcasts. Come subscribe for $1
or 2.
Come right in. Come request a movie. Come request an 80s movie. Someone come request Total Recall. I think that came out in the 80s. But until next time, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Filmistines. Thanks for tuning in and joining us on our cinematic journey. We hope you enjoyed the discussion and gained some new insights and perspectives in the world of movies. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform, especially Patreon at patreon.com/Filmistines. And follow us on social media for more film-related content. We love hearing from our listeners, so if you have any feedback, suggestions, movie recommendations, or book recommendations, please feel free to reach out to us. Until next time, keep watching, keep loving the magic of movies. This is the Filmistines, signing off.